Welcome back to Indian Trace. I have two display videos that I want to make. Uh, through many discussions, and a couple recently very specifically, uh, we were discussing artifacts and the artifacts that we felt were the most personal artifacts. If you will, for the North American Indian, the most intimate artifacts. And I'm not talking anything about sexuality. Don't take the word intimate that way. What I meant is personal, firsthand, and of course necessary. And as many of you who have trained eyes have already discerned, there's a group of scrapers here. Some call them hide scrapers. I'm sure they were used in many essences as multi-tools. This is the group of big ones that I've chosen for my display box. We're going to take a look at them and speak about the aspect of how absolutely personal these stones are. And they carry a lot more energy than just points, because arrowheads and spear points and projectile points are not personal items. They were not personal items for the greatest part to the North American Indian. They were expendable items. What you're looking at here today were personal items kept by them, used oftentimes because of the distribution of tasks by the women, by the females in the tribe or clan that routinely clean the hides. So we have another group here of the small ones that we're going to check out in a second. But look at these, and I want you to see these, and I'm going to pick them up because they're very personal items. If you found scrapers, you know what I'm talking about. If you're big on tools, which I know some of you are, it's going to be a good video for you. It's going to be an opportunity for you to come closer to some of the things in my collection. I've done a video here and there about scrapers, but nothing like this, because I'm really just approaching this from the sentiment. I just felt right about it with the time to share how personal these scrapers were. And they're definitely not just chunks of rock. Most scrapers you find, you'll know. You can almost sense, because your human hands are pretty much the same human hands as whatever woman or man was using this to condition hides some 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago in the Stone Age. And you'd be hard pressed to find some of this core stone around. Now, a lot of this in eastern North Carolina is probably indigenous. Some of it is not. Some of these stones and flints you'd be hard pressed to find around here. But the quartz you do find around here. And I wanted you to come to a personal place to understand that these scrapers here, and if you felt them, their weight, the size of them. Now, the smaller ones were definitely designed probably for smaller hides and fine-tune scraping of those hides, because I'm sure they didn't waste anything. Now, what I'm talking about is if they harvested, and I'll get to it with the small ones, a weasel versus a coyote or a wolf or an otter. You're going to grab a scraper that really fits, the tool that fits the job. It's like us with screwdrivers, if you will, or screws, whatever tool we need that fits the size job that we're doing. But the bottom line that I like about the scraper, and I'm holding one here, and you can almost feel it and see it, is that although they're clean cores of rocks right here, they were covered with blood from many different animals that they harvested. Very biological. Now, the stone's not, but these scrapers are, because they were definitely covered with the fat, the blood, the hides of the animal. So when you hold these, you got to realize they were scraping and cleaning hides. I liked that part of it because it was so necessary as a step in their life. You think about that. Almost, we could be just safe if I said 2,000 years ago, a woman was using this to clean the hides of the day. And to get them ready for the next step, whether it was a bag or a shoe or a piece of clothing. The fat on the inside of that hide needed to be scraped off. And so they had tools like this around, and they knew, they kept them. They kept up with them, I'm sure. Maybe they had a whole box full of scrapers and they could grab one that was appropriate in size for the animals. Maybe there was 3-4 animals that were thrown down on the ground that needed to be cleaned. It was just a daily thing. Look at this piece. There was a little bit of a bump there that they couldn't work off the outside edge, but it didn't bother them. I mean, if you held this, you could see all of these will fit in your hand in a good measure to work. To me, I was out today looking around. It's about pressing yourself to consider the people. The North American Indian, consider the men and consider the women and their everyday life. Consider who they were. So grievously taken for granted when the Europeans clashed with the Stone Age. But that aside, the scrapers are personal also to me because I know through a lot of reading that it carried over in the historic period Indian that often the women would condition the game that the men hunted. They spent their resource, they risked their lives to hunt everything from bear to buffalo to coyote, you name it, on and on. So when the hunt was done and they accomplished, the game was then taken immediately and without any problems by the women and the females to clean and condition. So many of these scrapers were held in the hands of their women. Staggering types of stone that was found at the pinnacle. The size of them, the weight, the wear on the edges is obvious. It's obvious. So as I finish up, I'll probably name it something like Let's Get Personal, because if you think about, to me, I continually roll it over my mind, the flesh, even the cutting, getting a limb off, or just making sure that the hide stayed in one piece, cleaning it, scraping it. The fat in the blood of many different animals that were on these, and then they were rinsed off and maybe thrown in a pile or a box or a little sack, and that they had these scrapers readily available, and they knew they could make more. So it wasn't that they just coveted to them, but they were like favorite tools. Like, I know I can buy another 5-in-1 tool. I know I can buy another favorite screwdriver, but I still want to keep my favorite tool and use it if I have the option. Look at the size of this. I've looked over this from top to bottom. Some people say it's a preform, but knowing the type of quartz and how it I call it dirty quartz, and how worked it is over the whole thing, and actually smooth and worked on some of the edges, I doubt it's a core. I knew what they need. We all know what they needed every day in terms of having something, a big core like this, a big scraper, to condition the bigger hides quickly, as efficiently as they could. And I know they had strength and they had strong hands, much stronger hands and wrists, arms and shoulders than we did. So it's about the people to me. Very personal items. Wanted to just give you an opportunity to come on board, and check these out personally. That's an incredible piece. Found at Mecca. So, that's enough. Take a little bit of time. I know a lot of you out there enjoy that. Sort of a living museum. Because these scrapers, they speak volumes for the North American Indian. Appreciate everybody tuning in to Indian Trace. And that right there, I don't know if I can get it all in. That's Indian Trace. Hope you find that there.